Welcome to Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Your host, V&M General Manager Kevin Jean and Iowa Ranger Pro Staffer Steve Graff will keep you up to date on what's happening on the best lakes in the Ark-La-Tex region, with a primary focus on Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend, two guys who have fished at a high level with Pro-Am experience with ABA, BFLs, Toyota Series, and B.A.S.S Opens. Anglers with a wealth of knowledge and willing to share. So pull up a chair, kick back, and see why so many anglers watch Tackle Talk Live. Here are your hosts, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tackle Talk Live. I'm your 13 fishing pro staffer and co-host, Steve Graff, along with V&M General Manager Kevin Jean. Kevin, Old Man Winter, made an early appearance already in here in October. All these deer hunters, I'm sure they feel good about today. This is the kind of weather you want when deer season is getting ready to kick off.
No, it absolutely is. You know, Steve, it's honestly, for a lot of fishermen, it's what they want to see as well. So, you know, this hit at a weird time for us as far as tournament fishing goes. The middle of the week, Tuesday. The Bassmaster Open on Sam Rayburn this week starting Thursday. You know, a lot of those guys, Steve, they've been over there practicing for a good week to 2 weeks, a lot of them. And all of a sudden, the Mother Nature throws this curveball at you, and it drops about 20 degrees. I think they got a little rain over there as well. So going to I'm very interested in listening to our guest today. Mr. Dicky Newberry has been fishing tournaments of Sam Rayburn, who is one of the legends on Sam Rayburn, to kind of get his take on this first fall cold snap that we have on Sam Rayburn and how those bass are going to react for those open guys over there.
And you know, Kevin, probably with your experience and with mine, a lot of times in the fall fronts that come through, they can be a trigger mechanism for a bite to turn on. I mean, it gets those fish fired up. I mean, they start pushing them creeks, hitting them creeks and pushing that bait fish up. And it can turn into a frenzy, a fall feeding
No,
time.
It really could, Steve. But the question is, again, and we talked about this last week, there's so much going on Sam Rayburn. Which fish is going to fire? Which fish are not going to fire? Which fish are going to scatter more? Again, you've got the brush pile fish. You've got the deep fish. You've got the grass fish, you know, the two types of grass fish, the one that's in the thick, heavy grass, the one that's kind of out on the grass line. Which there will be a group of fish that fire from this cold weather. Which group is it going to be? Will it shut some off? And that's questions I'm going to have for Dicky today.
Yeah, and another thing I've noticed over the years, when these fronts come through, the bass tend to go deeper in that grass. If they've got grass, they want to kind of get down in there and hunker down a little bit. Sometimes it make them easier to catch or make them harder to catch. I don't know. Dicky's going to tell us. So, yeah, we're definitely looking forward to having Dicky Newberry on. Also on today's show, we got this past weekend's Bass Champs Berkeley Big Bass results from Lake Fork, Texas. We'll also dive into another event. Had a great turnout. Kevin wasn't able to be here for it. The Northwestern State Bass Fishing Team had a tournament, first annual event for this, held on 4 bodies of water. Kevin, I'm telling you, I was highly, highly impressed with how well this was run, how organized it was. You know, had a few kinks, but first time you've ever done a tournament like that, there's going to be a few kinks. But at some point, matter of fact, I've actually invited you, myself and Drake. Drake Owens is the new head fishing coach for Northwestern State. We're going to go to lunch maybe one day next week and kind of see. I'll show him some things, talk about something I saw that we could do maybe a little bit better, a little different. And but he is all ears. He's open to any suggestions. We just want to make it better, and I think it will continue to build and get better and better. To have 85 teams in October with deer season going on, to me, was an accomplishment.
Oh, absolutely. And Steve, when you offer that kind of money, people are going to show up. And, you know, they did that. They did what they had to do to get people to show up. I haven't heard anything but great things about the tournament. I hated I was not able to be there, but I just wasn't. And we got some really big things going on V&M wise that I'm excited about going into for 2023. I was in meetings out of town all last week. I just wasn't able to make it. Wasn't able to get up there. So I hate it. I hate it that I wasn't able to, but I've heard nothing but great things about it. And like I said, I think they got a good thing going there, and it's going to be something to be able to really, really build there, in Natchitoches, where there's never really been Cane River. We've always kind of said it's a hidden gem, and we've all the locals there, and as I was a local, we've always tried to keep it quiet. And there's never a lot of big tournaments, a lot of little small tournaments, little club tournaments, things like that. Not many very big tournaments, and it's hard to have big tournaments there, but this is, I think, probably one of the biggest ones that ever come there. And I know it's several lakes, but Cane River was one of the main ones, Cane River and Black Lake, and it's a great thing for Natchitoches, no doubt.
Yeah, and if Black Lake hadn't been 4 feet down, there probably would have been more guys, including myself and my partner, Brett Hortman. We probably would have gone to Black Lake. But it being down the way it was, and there was a lot of traffic on Cane River, a lot of guys were out there, and but it wasn't so crowded you couldn't fish. I mean, you were away from guys, everybody kept their distance, and everybody did a good job. But the fish didn't really cooperate the way we hoped they would, but it was still a great event. And especially at the weigh-in, Johnny Leday had his mobile restaurant, had it all set up, his truck. They had drinks, they had beer, they had Cokes, they had water. They had everything. They had everything you could want, and just really good food, good fellowship, and a great event. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. Before we get to Dicky Newberry, we've got him coming up in just a second. We're going to take a short commercial break and make sure we recognize a few of our sponsors. You're watching Tackle Talk Live. We'll be right back.
Toledo Health is a full-service primary and acute care clinic. Nurse practitioners Jarrett Rule and Melissa Vines bring quality health care that's needed and convenient to the area. Whether it's a stomach virus or a hook in your hand, Toledo Healthcare will try and meet all your health care needs. Appointments available and walk-ins are always welcome. So the next time you're feeling down at Toledo Bend, stop by Toledo Healthcare, located on Highway 6, just south of Toledo Town, or you can call 318-508-5323. For all your boating needs, check out Shreveport's newest marine dealer, The Boat Shop. Raymond Kidd and his great staff will take care of all your engine repair needs or anything else that needs fixing. A certified Yamaha Mercury dealer, they carry two of the best fishing boats on the market from Sea Arc and Camus. The Boat Shop is never short on trade-ins, as they're always willing and able to make you the best deal possible. Looking for great boat accessories? They're a full support Garment and Minn Kota dealer. So the next time you're in the market for a new or used boat, or maybe you just need to service the boat you have, let the Boat Shop fix you up. To learn more, call 318-402-0399 or go to ShreveportBoatShop.com. The next time you're on I-49 just south of Natchitoches, Louisiana, stop by Cypress Knee Outdoors. A store within a store, Cypress Knee is located inside 3J's four-way. Whether you need gas, food, or drinks, they have it. While you're there, check out Cypress Knee Outdoors and pick up whatever hunting or fishing tackle you need. Top name brands like Strike King, Santone, Spro, or the #1 soft plastics made, V&M. On the hunting side, they carry guns from Mossberg, Winchester, and Remington. Plus, they've got a great supply of ammunition. Let John Abram and his staff show you everything Cypress Knee has to offer. Located just 1 mile east of 127 on I-49, or call 318-238-HUNT. You're watching Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Now back to the guys with all the inside scoop, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
Welcome back to Tackle Talk Live. You're watching a show that hopefully make you a better angler over around Toledo Bend. Sam Rayburn, Lake Fork, Texas. Thank you for tuning us in. This segment presented by Toledo Health, The Boat Shop, 3J's Four-Way, home of Cypress Knee Outdoors, and your one-stop shop for everything going on, especially right now, hunting and fishing. Just go by the check. They got deer stands, feeders, corn. They got everything you need if you're a hunter. So go by there and check it out. I know all you deer hunters are headed for the woods. And speaking of deer hunters, we've got one on with us right now. And who knows, we may talk deer hunting before it's all over. But we got the Texas fishing legend himself, Mr. Dicky Newberry. And Dicky, welcome to the program. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us.
Well, certainly. I appreciate y'all calling.
Kevin, I got a real quick story on Dicky. Dicky was the first guy I drew at Toledo Bend back in the early 2000s. And I didn't know Dicky from Bill Dance. Did not have a clue who Dicky Newberry was. And we go to dinner with my buddies after I'd got his name drawn. And they all asked me, who'd you get, Grandpa? So I got Dicky Newberry, some guy named Dicky Newberry. They were all falling out all over the table. What? You got Newberry? Oh, my God. That's the best guy out here. I'm like, really? So he won 2 boats this year. And I'm like, oh, well, cool. Well,
and people still react that way, Steve, when they draw him. They still are reacting that way to this day, for sure.
Well, me and Dick, we go out and we go towards the bluffs in the middle of the lake. Dicky's idle's out there in the middle of this flat. We're punching grass. And we're struggling. And I'll never forget this. This is when GPS first came out, Kevin, and there's a boat that comes off the boat run. Now, Dicky's a good 150 yards off the boat run in the middle of this grass patch. And here comes this boat idling towards us. And he's not slowing down. And I look at Mr. Dicky and I said, Mr. Dicky, do you know this boat coming up on us? Because he's making a beeline for us. He looked at me, he said, no, I don't know who that is. He kept fishing. That boat, Kevin, came within 10 feet of us, and he marked that spot with his electronics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Dicky wanted to hit him upside the head with that 1 ounce jig he was throwing. And I was like, you remember that, Dicky?
No, I don't. No, I mean, it's kind of typical, but no, I don't remember that one.
That's what's going to happen. Yes.
Yeah. Dicky, I want to pick your brain on Sam Rayburn. So the B.A.S.S open this week, starts Thursday over there. And, these guys are getting a hard curveball thrown at them. I'm sure most of those have been up there the last week, maybe 2 weeks practicing. And the first cool snap of the fall is here. It hit this morning. And so now them boys are, what did these fish do? Where did these fish scatter? I mean, and we talked, Dicky, there's several ways to approach Sam Rayburn right now. You have the brush pile fish. You have the offshore fish. You have the suspended fish. People are running around catching with their units, the panoptics and everything. Then you have the grass fish and the outside grass, the matted grass, so on and so forth. This cool snap is going to ignite some of those schools, and it's going to make some other ones act real finicky. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it's probably it's going to move the fish. They're kind of adjust to whatever it does to the bait fish, and as a rule, normally it'll pull those bait fish in around the grass and stuff. It'll probably make the grass fish a little bit better. A lot of those brush pile fish, I think it's going to take a little bit more for them. It's going to take a few times for it to affect them, move them too far. They'll be still there. It does tend to make them suspend a little bit more. Just a change in water temperature. Barometric pressure, I think, has more to do with it than probably this little cold snap. It's cold snap. There's a huge volume of water out there, and it takes a lot for it to start affecting temperatures a lot. But the temperatures will fall a few degrees, and it can help some of the guys. It sometimes puts them on structure a lot better. Puts them on deep breaks and things. They kind of group up a little bit more when it does that. So, it's ever how the guys adjust to it. Basically, I think that'll have as much to do with as anything is the bait. I think is the way it positions the bait.
Dicky, one of the better, I know this times of the year. There's been a couple of guys. Phil Marks was one of them. This was a time of year he always seemed to shine with that deep diving DT10. He just really seemed to figure it out on a deep crankbait. Is that going to be a big player this tournament as well?
I think it will. The guys that get out and utilize it. I think that those were fish that got on the edge of those breaks I was talking about. We've had several tournaments this time of year that have been won on sharp breaks, whether it's creek channels, ridges that break quickly, river, creek, and any of those quick breaks. It seems like that pulls them to it when the water temperature starts falling, as long as we've got steady water levels and stuff, which we do. And the water's got the little steady decrease in elevation, an inch or so every 2 or 3 days. And that's going to help also keep those fish positioned. The deal with that big crankbait, there's not quite as many people, that's sticking with it. And it's not as popular as it was back when Phil won that tournament here, but that's an excellent pattern to be following right now.
Dicky, I don't know when the last time you was on Rayburn was. I know you was there at the 2-day BFL. I saw you. Again, you have several factors that play in this tournament. The grass and the offshore brush piles, I think, will be two of the main, the main ways people are fishing. Do you think it can be won doing one, or is somebody going to have to do both of those?
Well, I always think, Rayburn is such a versatile lake, and it has so many different patterns that can win. You're going to have to be, you're going to need both, I think. The thing about it is there's so much pressure on this lake that the schools that used to be big enough to win 3 and 4 day tournaments are not large enough to supply 4-day or 3-day stringer off the same stuff. So I think you're going to have to be able to bounce around and do it in other areas. 2 patterns is always a lot better because one day it's not going to work. I mean, we all know about bass fishing, and you go out and find them. Some of my best practice days have been my worst tournaments. So, it's just you're going to have to adjust. There's the guys that can adjust very quickly. That's going, it's going to come out on top on this.
And Dicky, another thing up there, springtime, we all know, hey, you got to be within sight of 147 bridge, or you got to be up around the 103 bridge and up. I mean, does that end of the lake in these fall tournaments play as big a role as it will in the south end of the lake for this time of year?
Yeah, well, years ago we had good grass all the way down south. We had on Farmers Flats, and we had Needmore and Caney Flats and then Coleman Flats. All that had a lot of hydrilla on it years ago, and it's not there now. So it doesn't hold the population that it used to. So most of the grass is up from 5 fingers on up and up the main arm, and around the bridge has always been the kind of the focal point of our nice, good grass. So that has a tendency to hold more fish. And I think the bridge area, 5 or 6 miles north and south is probably it's going to probably be the better location on the lake. This is my opinion.
Did the canyons come into play this time of year, Dicky?
Well, the canyons, you've got 2 or 3 drains that go through it that the fish could be pulled into. I was out there the other day. There wasn't quite as many that we normally see. Later on in the year, they'll pull into the drains a little bit better. There's some grass there this year, which we haven't had in the past year or so. So the canyons could play, but it's usually a little later in the year when it starts really producing.
Yeah.
This time of year, I mean, the guys that get on the grass bite, they're gonna have an early morning bite because the grass is really, the outside edge is not deep enough to have a tendency to hold a fish all day, especially on these bluebird days. I don't know. We're going to have I just pulled up the weather a little bit ago, and it looks like the wind's going to shift out of the south for the tournament, so that'll change the bite too. I mean, right now they're practicing with north winds, higher pressures and some bluebirds and stuff, and then they're going to turn around and have south with a little cloud cover.
Did we lose him?
Looks like we lost him.
We have. I heard it sound like his phone dropped the call.
Yeah, it's not his phone either went dead or he dropped the call. James, you want to try to get him back?
Go ahead and take our second break, Steve, and we'll come back with it.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and take our second break. Hopefully we'll come back with a little more with Dicky. If not, we've got some other tournament news to talk about. You're watching Tackle Talk Live. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for the finest custom-built rods ever made? Then look no further than Pride Rods. Fishing rods built to last and made in Montgomery, Texas. Constructed by Mr. Billy Kistler with the finest Gary Loomis North Fork composite blanks available. They offer a complete line of both spinning and casting rods for both fresh and salt water. Pride Rods do more than pass the eye test. They excel in performance as well. Ask your local tackle dealer if they carry Pride Rods and pick one up and try it for yourself. You'll see why so many anglers are using Pride Rods. To learn more, go to priderods.com or call 832-418-6040. The next time you're headed for Toledo Bend or Sam Rayburn, stop by Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle. They have an awesome supply of everything you'll need to catch the big ones. Whether your trip calls for bass fishing, white perch tackle, catfish bait, or the ultimate fighting shiners, Keith's Tackle has you covered. Keith and former Elite Series pro Ben Matsubu also have the latest information on what, how, and where you need to be fishing on Sam Rayburn or the Bend. So for all your tackle needs, check out Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle, located just off Highway 21 on the Texas side of Toledo Bend, or call 409-625-0181. The Lakes Insurance Agency is an independent insurance agency that has been taking care of Texans' insurance needs for over 25 years, offering auto, homeowners, boat, RV, life, health, and commercial insurance. Owner Clark Moore is a local guide and tournament angler who understands your insurance needs and wants to be your go-to guy for all your insurance needs. For a free quote, give him a call and see why so many Texans trust the Lake Insurance Agency. Located at 805 Southeast Stalling Suite 3, Nacogdoches, Texas, or call 936-205-4467. You're watching Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Now back to the guys with all the inside scoop, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
Welcome back to Tackle Talk Live. I'm your 13 pro staffer, Steve Graff, and Camus Boats, as long as V&M General Manager Kevin Jean, and we're here on the phone with us, one of the legends, one of the best anglers I've known since I started my fishing career, a guy I highly look at him as one of my idols. And but this segment is presented by Toledo Health, the Boat Shop, 3J's Four-Way, home of Cypress and the Outdoors, and Pride Rods, Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle, and the Lakes Insurance of Nacogdoches, Texas, 2 locations, one in Nacogdoches and one right there in Broadus. So check it out. If you're looking for some insurance, make sure you go to the Lakes Insurance of Nacogdoches. And,
back on the phone with us. We have a little technical difficulties and dropped Dicky's call while ago. We got him back. Dicky, you there with us?
I'm here. Yes, sir. I'm back.
Good deal. Good deal. So, and you were saying, so these guys have been practicing. I didn't realize that. I haven't looked at wind, but guys have been practicing all week with a north wind, and you're saying there's going to be a south wind coming in around tournament time?
Yeah, that's what it showed. It showed the wind going to be switching out of the south, and it will change the bite. You go out and practice and get everything dialed in for a north wind that they've had all week long, and we've had for the past couple of weeks, and it's going to shift back around, come out of the south, and it'll definitely it'll make the bite better in some areas, and it'll move the fish around a little bit, reposition them. So, they're going to have a little adjustment to make there once that happens.
Dickie, let's really break this lake down a little bit here. Just kind of the history of the last 5 or 6 years. The south end of the lake it just wasn't playing well. I mean, you couldn't hardly catch winning bags. Then slowly but surely, up towards Ash Bio started getting better. Some guys were actually winning up there. I know Lazion goes up there. He does really well up there. But you were either having to go way up there or you're just having to go 147 bridge on up. Is that changing again with all the grass coming back down into the mid-lake area?
Yeah, that's all grass related as far as that, my opinion is. Those fish are drawn to that hydrilla and they'll migrate. It seemed like we lost it all up the Ash Arm there for several years. It was bare, and then 2 or 3 years ago it started coming back. Last year we had, we lost 75% of our grass because of high water from the previous year, and it never did recover. And now this year, even back in May, we didn't have good grass here. Now all of a sudden we've got grass everywhere, and it's coming back in areas that it hasn't been in 15 years. So you're going to start seeing some new places pop out. But yes, the Ash Arm did come into play year before last really well. They seemed like a good population of fish showed up. People don't realize just how these fish will migrate to that grass and how far they'll go. We several years ago, the water level got down to about where it's at now, and hydrilla grew up toward the Marion's Ferry area up there on some flats, and it seemed like every fish on the north end of the lake showed up in those little shallow 2 to 3 foot grass flats out there, and they were just everywhere. And people were, once they were found, it just come alive up there. And then all the other stuff down toward the school bus and all the other river holes that had been notorious for winning tournaments over the years, it just died out. And my belief there is all those fish migrated up there to that grass. Now, how they know there's grass growing up there, I don't know, other than maybe the bait. They just followed the bait, and the bait went to it. The shad filling on, feeding on the plankton and stuff like that. I don't know, but grass does draw fish around on the lake, and where you find good grass, normally you find a good population of bass.
Dicky, the water level being low this time of year, did you find that from previous history? Did you find that helped the locals as low as it is? Because it's kind of a different lake when it's this low. Or does that hurt you? Do you want it more regular level?
No, I fished this lake when it's 14 foot low, and I think we're 5.5 foot low now. And 5.5 and 6, it used to be a normal winter pool. That used to be about where we were fishing it during the winter months or during the fall. And they would pull it down, and then all of our winter rains and stuff would bring it back up near pool, so we got back to the bushes and stuff. But I like it where it's at now from here and lower. The only bad thing about it is it's this year is the most dangerous I've ever seen it from the stumps. The stumps are just under the surface. There's so many stumps. Those stumps, they rotted off and got at that level back when we had a real long time that the water stayed, and they rotted out. And they used to, back in the 90s and 2000s, those stumps were 5 or 6 foot taller, and they were up around the tops of them were about where a regular pool is at 164.4. And so now they rotted off, and they're down, and they're at about 5.5 foot below pool. The tops of them now, I idled around the other day, and there's so many stumps that are just right under the surface. I spent a half a day out there just marking, putting crossbones on some deadly stumps. I found several stumps out there. I found one with a skeg stuck in the middle of it that was broken off, and then I found one with one blade of a prop stuck in it. Took some pictures of it. It's pretty outstanding.
Well, that could have been either one of mine, Kevin. I'll tell you, and Sam Rayburn, Albert Collins gave me some of the best advice he's ever given me. He told me, he said, Graf, remember when it went down to like 12 feet? It was 12 feet low at one point. And he said he went out every single day that he could get off work, he would go out and he would mark every hard spot he could find.
Yeah.
He said it was amazing how many of those spots paid off for him over the years. He said, because that's what the fish really like to relate to, those hard spots. And he said, man, that extra time I spent on the water that year with that lake way down was the best money I ever spent.
Yeah, I'm surprised Albert told you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's exactly right. I mean, he's as good a fisherman as there ever been on this lake, and and that's part of his success is knowing what's under that water, and those hard spots, I promise you, has made him thousands and thousands of dollars in tournament winnings.
Yes. Yeah.
Dicky, last question for me is if somebody's a good friend of yours and not give locations, not give any secrets out, a good friend of yours called, was going to fish this open, called you a month ago, said, Dicky, I'm coming over to fish open, never been to Sam Rayburn before in my life. What tips can you give me? Certain things I need to look for? What do I need to do coming to Sam Rayburn?
Well, a lot of it is determined by the type of fisherman you're talking to. Does these people like to fish offshore? Do they like to fish grass? What's their strengths? Because if you come up here and try to learn one of these techniques that they're not familiar with, and they're going to be going backwards. So usually I tell them if they like to fish grass, you need to find the grass and try to spend as much time you can running all the grass beds, and tell them that the best grass is from 5 Fingers to right around the bridge, and just run those main creeks and try to pattern the fish and see just how they're positioning in the grass. Usually they'll show themselves. They'll be chasing shad around the edges and stuff, and just get you enough spots to run. And then if they're fishing offshore, you can do that any part of the lake, as far as these ridges and the hard spots and things like that. And it's just going to take a while. And there's thousands and thousands of brush piles, and the brush piles have been a key to the, for the past 4 or 5 months. People have been catching a lot of big fish, but those brush pile fish, they have a mind of their own, and they feed at a certain time. And that's when you've got to, if you're going to catch them, you're just going to have to be there when they feed. And I just try to, adapt your way of fishing to whatever you want to do here at Rayburn.
Because you can do it right. However you want to catch a fish at Sam Rayburn, you can go do it right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Dicky,
exactly.
will the spoon,
that's right.
Dicky, will the spoon come into play on this particular tournament?
Well, yeah, it could. I mean, it could. I don't. I mean, limit fish and stuff, and you can always catch a big fish on a spoon, but it works for a lot of people. I'm not a big spoon guy, and I probably wouldn't be participating with a spoon, but a lot of people can. I'm not going to second guess anybody here, because I've had my butt beat so many times on this lake by different techniques. There's no telling what it's going to take to win, because there's always somebody that comes in from out of state that hadn't been here that figures out, unlocks something that we're not aware of. There's just so many fish here, and there's just a lot of big ones.
Since you said that, I'm going to ask you, what does it take to win? After you told me you weren't going to predict it, I'm going to put you on the spot. What does it take to win 3-day Bassmaster Open this week on Sam Rayburn?
I think you're going to. Personally, I think 58 pounds sounds like a really good number. Somebody's going to bust a good sack one day, and then going to back it up with some 15-pound sacks and stuff like that. This time of year there'll be somebody that hits a mother load, and the thing about it's really difficult to do it multiple days. But if he's got enough stuff to back it up, he can go out and catch him 15 to 18. 2 days, and then catch 25 or 30 the next, that one day. So that's usually you're usually in the 58 to 60 pound range is usually where it happens.
Dicky, one more thing. Keith Poche, leading Angler of the Year by 39 points over David Gaston. What does Keith have to? Does he basically have to just weigh a limit every day and he'll wrap that up?
Yeah, he needs him probably 12, 15 pounds a day. That's what I would think. If I was in his shoes, it's just, there's, again, it's according to what David does, I mean, if he goes out and, he's one of the leaders and Keith comes in with, 12 pounds a day, just a limit probably won't do it because there's going to be so many limits. You can catch yourself way down the leaderboard,
Yeah.
And I've done that. I've done that repeatedly. I fished the Potomac River last year, or year before last, and I caught probably 30 keepers a day and finished 110th or something like that. It's just, catching 10 pounds, I think, is going to be relatively easy once everybody gets here and puts enough time in and figures out how to catch them. And I think that's my opinion. I just think there's too many fish in this lake to try to make Angler of the Year and not lose 40 points by catching 10 pounds a day. I don't think that'll work, personally.
Yeah. Good deal, man. Hey, great insight, Dicky. Man, we can't say thank you enough, bud. We appreciate you. We think you're one of the legends of our region, and we just, like I said, we're just tickled to death to know you and get to have you on the show, man.
Well, I appreciate it, and I wish you and I would have caught more fish at Toledo Bend, but that's the way it goes.
people were dog following you, and they were trying to spot like you spots, and I was like, wow, it's crazy.
Thanks, Dicky. I appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. Yes, sir. See y'all.
All right, Dicky Newberry, one of the best anglers, Kevin, that's probably ever dropped a boat in Sam Rayburn or Toledo Bend.
Definitely has ever dropped a rattle trap.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly right. So we're just tickled to death to have a guy like Dicky on today. And real quick, let's see here. Oh, ABA Solo 150. I know we made a big deal out a couple of weeks, and people were already calling in, and they got shut down. They couldn't register. The registration is now open. Call ABA Solo 150. They got package deals. You can sign up for all three right now. I think there's individual tournament dates if you want to shotgun an event. Those are available to you as well, as long as they're not full. They're hoping to fill this thing up. I'm hoping they fill it up. I don't know if that'll happen. But, Kevin, I'm going to predict right now, I'm going to go out on a limb here. We averaged about 75 probably boats for the year last year per tournament. I'm going to say we're going to have close to 125 in these events.
With that schedule, he'll definitely be over 100 this year. With that schedule, I've talked to several guys, and I'm down here in South Louisiana now where I live, and these guys around here I know. I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday that lives in Lake Charles, and he says, I'm fishing Solo 150s next year. He called to ask me about them because he's never fished them before. He's like, man, with that schedule, I'm coming to fish. And I said, well, you definitely need to, because it's with that payback. So I definitely think you're over 100. Absolutely. I haven't looked and seen how many things it's on the same weekends as. I haven't jumped to that. But the good thing is, years previous, he's averaged 75 boats, and he's scheduled on top of the Toyotas.
Yeah, right.
And that's the same style of fisherman he's trying to get. So it's not on top of the big tournaments that I can see this coming the year. And with the schedule that he has, yes, he will have a very good turnout.
I actually had 4 or 5 people when I emceed the weigh-in for the Northwestern tournament. I had 4 or 5 people actually come up and discuss the Solo 150s, what the rotation was going to be. They've heard about it and they want to fish it. And I said, hey, come on, man. Love to have you. So I was really surprised at how many people approached me at that particular event that because I thought it was just mostly locals. But there were some good teams in this tournament that was held. I left the darn results. I
can get it right here.
Yeah, pull them up. I left them in my office. But there were some good sticks. There were some good quality teams that fish other things, big time stuff. And I know Cole Garrett showed up, and Adrian James from Winfield showed up, and father-son team actually won it.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
But Drake Owens, he is the new fishing coach, kind of taking the place of Juddy Hamus, who did a great job with it. Juddy's kind of stepping down. He's going to hang with it a little while just through the transition period. But he's definitely Drake Owens is taking it over, and he's full of a lot of ideas. He wants to take it to a new level. He wants Northwestern State bass fishing team to be one of the elite teams across the country in all collegiate teams. And he's got some great ideas to try to execute those ideas and make that happen for this fishing team. Could be good times ahead for this Northwestern State fishing team.
All right, so recap for those not knowing the tournament. So Northwestern State Open Tournament. You can go to 4 different bodies of water. You can go to Cane River, Black Lake, Sibley Lake, or Red River. Most of the teams were Cane River and Black Lake. The winning is 5 fish string, and the winning fish, Brian Lucas Jr. and Brian Lucas. I believe they're out of Pineville, Alexandria area, somewhere over there. 1496. They were on Cane River. Second place, Archie Dore, Emmanuel Settle, 1471. I believe they were Cane River as well, right, Steve?
Yeah.
And then third place, Cody Beasley, John Orr was 1468. They were Black Lake.
Yeah.
Fourth place, Cole Garrett, Brent Carpenter, 1418. And fifth place by himself, Trey Hebert, 1308. That's the top 5. It played down to 12 places. Scott Watson, Jerry Cote in 12th place with 1187.
Yeah, and they were also Black Lake. So there was probably a mix in the top 12, half Black, half Cane River. A couple of us, well, there's actually 3 teams from Sibley that was in the top 10. That kind of surprised me a little bit. And
not me at all. I fished Sibley. It's been about a month and a half ago, I guess, or a month. Yeah, about a month and a half ago, I guess, or a month ago, for a little club tournament. And shoot, Steve, we had 2 bags over 13 and several, 4 or 5 over 12. I mean, Sibley Lake's fishing very well right now.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good to hear. Since I live on it, I need to get out here on it. But let's see here. And just to kind of recap the Solo 150, the schedule, Sam Rayburn will kick it off. That's going to be March the 17th and 18th out of Castle Boykin. And again, understand all ABA events, whether it's Open Series or Solos, will all be out of Castle Boykin. Let's see here. The Lake of the Pines tournament is the second leg of this event. April 28th and 29th out of Lakeside Park. And then the final event will be on Toledo Bend at Lost Frontier Park on the Texas side. The old Frontier Park Marina is what that is. May the 26th and 27th. Yes, that is Memorial Day weekend, but I think it's a good time to have that event. And he was kind of forced into that weekend. So, but I think it's going to work out just fine. Especially with that being the last one. A lot of guys that are committed, they're going to fish it. They're going to make sure they're there. So, yeah. But anyway. Well, we were going to talk about Poche, maybe winning Angler of the Year. We've already talked about that with Dicky. He gave us his opinion.
Steve, kind of going back. This Bass Open is the last B.A.S.S. Open of the year. All divisions. It's the last Central Division. So there's a lot on the line this week at Sam Rayburn. Not only the overall point standings, which the top 3 get in points to the Bassmaster Elite Series, also the top 3 in the Central Division standings get into the Bassmaster Elite Series next year. There's also a Bassmaster Classic berth on the line. The winner gets that. If the winner of the Open has fished all of the events, if it's a local who just jumped in this derby, the next person, who I think it might be Hunter Shyrock, the next person on the Bassmaster Elite gets into that Bassmaster Classic. So there's a lot on the line at Sam Rayburn this week. I know I've talked to a lot of those guys that is really nervous about it. good friend of both of ours, Nick LeBrun, is sitting in 5th place in the Central Points. I forget how many, out of 3rd, but he's right there. Has a really good chance to qualify for the Bassmaster Opens if he can jump up into that 3rd place. Lake Charles native Doug Goins in 4th place in the point standings. So it's a lot on the line over there at Sam Rayburn this week.
Yep, lot of fishing going on for guys that are trying to make careers out of this. This is one of those tournaments. They've got to show up and do well. This is a make or break tournament for some of these guys in more ways than one. And, Kevin, one thing we want to get to over the next couple of weeks, I'm anxious to see if MLF does what they said they're going to do by dropping the bottom 10 point total, the point guys, now the bottom 10, and replacing them with the Tackle Warehouse top 10, like Nick LeBrun and those guys.
Nick has got the invite to the Bass Pro Tour. They're doing it. It's done. They've got the invite. Nick got the invite. I don't know.
Are they dropping 10 out like they said they would do and bring 10 more in? Well,
Stephen, we've learned this, and I'm not going to talk bad about them, but MLF, there's a lot of rule changes.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way. There's a lot of rule changes that goes on over there.
As we go.
As we go. And their whole thing is, every fish counts. Well, all of a sudden on social media last week, they're asking if they should move to a 5-fish limit tournament starting next year. So they're talking about switching that, which I hope they do. I want to see 5 fish. I'm not an every fish matters kind of guy. I like to see 5 fish. That's how us normal tournament fishermen think is 5.
I agree.
So I think MLF is leaning to push into a 5-fish rule. Now everything else is they're weighing them in the boat and dropping them back. They'll have a referee or whatever they call an official in the boat with them. But it'll just count like Bassmaster Elite does when they go to port. They'll just count their top 5.
Right.
MLF is talking about making that change, and I hope they do.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. So far, they've deviated from their original game plan twice, and
way more than that, Steve.
Yeah,
way more than that. Different.
I'm being nice. So
yeah.
But anyway, just looking ahead for any other extra tournament. I don't have anything on the tournament radar coming up. I'm sure there is something at Rayburn, but I haven't seen anything. But we'll try to do some more digging for next week and try to have some tournament news that we can pass along. So some of you guys don't hunt. Well, you want to fish. Well, there's still some stuff going on that you can probably go fish. And I know the big toy drive, that tournament's coming up soon, isn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, it is. You can go to the Outlaw Outdoors website and go to the Sam Rayburn community or Sam Rayburn calendar and check it out. Nothing big coming up. I know, they do have the toy bash coming up, but again, I don't know that date off the top of my head.
Yeah, we'll try to have more information on that for next week. So again, we can't say thank you enough for tuning us in. Continue to pass the word along. Dicky gave some really good insight on Rayburn and what to expect, and maybe next week we'll have the winner on of the Bassmaster Central Open on Rayburn, and maybe Angler of the Year. Maybe Poche pulls it out. We'll see how all that shakes out. You can watch all that live, especially on the Bassmaster channel. You can watch the final day. I know the top 10 are all live with cameras. So check it out. If you'd like to become a member of our sponsorship team, please message us on our Facebook page. Kevin will make sure he sends you a detailed packet out and to join our family of sponsors. We'd love to have you. For Kevin Jean, yours truly, Steve Graff. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week with more Tackle Talk Live.